Oh, hello everyone. I'm here today with the Grand Prix Ski du Valcourt, and I have two guests from the Eeyou Eenou Cross Country Racing League. I have Silas Neeposh, the 10-time champion, and I have Jonathan Neeposh, coordinator and organizer of the league. So we're here today to learn a little bit about the league that was able to run during COVID-19, sit down and get some questions and get educated as well in honor of Indigenous Heritage Month. So tell us a little bit about the league, who's in it, the history, how many years it's been running, what communities are racing in it, any record breakers. Just really dive into the history to fill in everyone on what we can learn about the Eeyou Eenou League.
Okay. Actually I'll go by each committee. Okay, by each committee, how they started, because I have
Sure.
access to all the. I'm working with all the presidents of each committee. There's right now there's six of us. There's Ms. Disney. There's Jabugmo. There's Waswanipi. There's Shibugumo, Nemska, and Chesapeake. So there's six racing communities that will be hosting events in the year 2022. So right now we have six. So let's dive into a little history of each one. So Jabugmo Racing Committee, racing cross country started in early 90s and ended somewhere in the late 90s, because the sport goes on and off. Sometimes it's really popular, sometimes everybody's racing, then all of a sudden it went down. So they went to snowcross in the late 90s. And then in the early 2000s to 2003, it stopped. Everything stopped for them. And then they started again in 2016 to present. That's the Ojabugmo Racing Cross-Country Racing Challenge. So for Chesapeake, they started in the early 90s with the three-man race. So it started in the early 90s and ended in the late 90s. And then they had in the early 2000s, they had snowcross and then cross country. So in the late 2000s, they started to go down, just like everybody that hosted events. So when they did start again, they started with the original two-man race, which started in 2014. And it's still presently running now up to present. So their cross country event, they host a two-day cross country challenge. So they started in 2014, and it's up to present now. It's up to the present. So for the Waswanipi cross country events, they started in the late 80s and ended in the late 80s, and then in the late 90s they stopped, and then they started hosting snowcross events in the early 2000s, and then everything stopped for them, and then they just started again like in 2018 to present. As for the Sibugmu Rally, they started in 1967.
Okay.
And they, just like everyone, they went down for a while from 2007 to 2012. They started back again in 2012 up to present. So Silas is the 2018 professional Sibugmu fully vet cross country champion.
Okay.
So,
and they started racing.
Title there.
And they started racing in 1967. So over almost 55 years of racing.
Yes.
Okay. And is that the longest running racing community out of all of them in the Eeyou Eenou League?
Yes, because they're actually tanda na dito guy. Mr. Guzit.
Ah?
Tanda na dito Mr. Guzit and then.
I don't know.
They're a non-native town.
Okay.
It's a municipality.
Okay.
That's located about 90 kilometers from where me and Silas are right now. So it's a non-native community, but most of the racers are Cree now. But they've been involved in racing for as long as the Cebu Rally has started in in the late 60s.
Okay.
So the community of Mistissini started in the late 60s, just at the same time around the Cebu Rally. So it has been going up until present. So in 2016, we created a new racing committee called Mistissini Big Rock Racing Association. So we've been doing really good. So we've been involved in this sport for over how many years now?
About 50 years that,
About
native
50 years. Yeah, about 50 years now.
natives have
Yeah,
been.
50 years, about 50 years.
Okay. Okay, so that's quite the storied history. That's like quite a long time that it's been running and within the community. And so who's your biggest, like which athlete is your biggest record holder? If someone was to say, what's your most well-known athlete? It's Silas.
Right now. So
But
there's
a number.
Okay, Madhya.
There's a number of folks that, going back, way back, there's numerous people from communities around here that have won, a lot of races too, and that are well known too. Even some racers from around here, were with official teams for Polaris, even for Bombardier. So they're not, there's a lot of well-known racers from around here that people could actually remember. For example, I think there's another guy. He's the same age as me. His name was Nigel Gunner. I think he's won the same amount of racers that I've won too in the professional category, and it just goes way back with racers that are well known with the sport and from around the communities around here.
Yeah, for sure. And can you tell us a little bit about when you say cross-country racing, how long is your average race? Like in Silas, in your category, what are you looking at? Can you kind of run us through like a 2-day race or your average race that you take on? What's that like?
Well, there's different ones for there's actually just two that run 2-day events. For example, Mistissini runs 240 kilometers per day. So that's 2-day race. And there's another one up north, which is in Sasabi. They run about, it was different each year. It can go up to 300 kilometers per day. That's a 2-day event. And the average one could be around, could play around from 300 to, I'd say 260 to 300 could really play around on an average 1-day event. That's the professional category. And it just makes a way down to semi-pro, into women's category, junior category, even a beginners category. I think they tried a veterans category, but I don't think there was enough racers. But it could work its way up to get that category too. But the highest one would be at least a 300 kilometer, 320. It's probably the highest. That would be in the professional category.
Okay. And do all racers stop at the end of the day and like stay somewhere together and then continue and make the trip back the following day to like the starting point?
No, it's usually from point A to point B. Like for example, Mistissini always come back in Mistissini, and so it'd always be in each town would have point A and point B, but it'll always be within the communities. That's part of the race, except for Shibugmu Rally. They actually toured into 2 other communities, which summed up to 360 kilometers. But the recent years, they did more like a lap kind of a race. It was a 60-kilometer lap, which only ended up in Shibugmu area. But before that, which was really fun, they actually ended up in 2 other communities in one race. So that was, it was huge.
Yeah. For sure. And Jonathan, can you tell us a little bit about, so you're running and leading the Eeyou Eenou Cross Country League, and
Yes.
all of these communities are racing within this league. And so I know
Yes.
you're working towards getting your league kind of more sanctioned and running, with a more formal point system. Can you tell me when you started Eeyou Eenou, why you started it, and what's your goal for this league?
Excuse me. Well, the reason why I started the Eeyou Eenou cross country racing was to show the audience and the racers and the race fans how exciting it would be to have like a point system and to have an actual like a racing circuit. So throughout the years, we're getting more communities involved in the to join the league. Like for example, Waswanipi joined the league in 2018 up to present. So and then like a couple like in 2020, Wemengee there was a new race, like a new racing organization, Wemengee, but they only stayed for 1 year. So
Okay.
so last year during the COVID situation, they couldn't they didn't want to organize a race. Only Miss Disney organized a race. Miss Disney, Jabugmo, and Waswanipi. Three na size. Yeah,
Chesapeake.
only three. There was only 3 races.
4.
When the other one?
Chesapeake.
Oh yeah, Chesapeake. Yeah, I forgot Chesapeake. And there was only like Miss Disney only. We were only because we were the first ones. We had the first race. So, but there were still COVID restrictions like upon us. So we couldn't really do a regional a regional event where we invite all the racers from Jabugmo, Waswanipi, Sabugumo, Chesapeake, Nemska. So we only had local racers. It was only a local race, but we still had like I think 88 participants in all the like combined
Okay.
in all the categories. So
Okay, still a big draw. And do you want to elaborate a little bit on what it was like racing during COVID-19, during the pandemic? Obviously, as you mentioned, there were some restrictions, so you were unable, to have the same amount of fans and racers that you normally do and have those regional races. And as you know, many events such as the Grand Prix, we were not able to run in 2021 just due to those restrictions. Can you tell me a little bit about how the experience maybe was different for you as an organizer, Jonathan, and you as a racer, Silas? What was like racing during COVID-19?
It was, well, it was different. But as the months went on, I think we were pretty lucky with the 3 other races that happened besides Miss Disney. Miss Disney happened early in February. Restrictions were kind of still hard. And then I think the committee decided to do only to do a local race, but it still ended up with 80 racers from just Miss Disney. But as you know, it got better after the next race. I think a lot of people were excited, and I think even at our government level, really, saw something that was good for the people, I guess. Then the next race opened up for everyone, and there was still some restrictions, but like what I said, COVID was kind of quiet over here, knock on wood, but it got better eventually. We felt a little bit normal, I guess, towards the end, which was 3 other races, and it just felt like COVID wasn't around. Luckily for us, other communities opened up for everyone. And I think it was important, but I don't want to boast up our community. But I think majority of the races, I'd say half or even more racers came from Miss Disney, and I think they really needed our support. And in order for the events to happen. But yeah, the first race we were kind of bummed out. We only could have done it locally. But yeah, I'm happy how it turned out towards the end. Everything kind of opened up, and the travel restrictions, and we ended up going to the rest of the races. So it wasn't too bad, I should say. Yeah.
Okay. And Jonathan, from your point of view, how is it different this year, kind of acting as an organizer, you know, overall for all these different communities and races?
It was really well, it was different. For example, when I went to Waswanipi to like for the for the Waswanipi racing committee, I'm still under they're still under training, so like so to speak, to I'm training the whole committee to how to run a race. So
Okay.
when I go over there, I'm in charge. I'm in charge of the of the race. If how like wait like how to I'm teaching them how to run the race, how to run the time like properly, how to set up the rows and everything, and how like what like how much time the intervals will be when each row leaves, like for example like a minute. So I teach like I'm still training them how to properly like run a race, but they're doing really good. So and so when I went over there, I couldn't enter the community, so I had to go sleep in the cabin. So you know
Okay.
that was
But that
really
was
that was
big.
really different instead of sleeping in a hotel or in one of the organizers' place. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it was different.
For sure. But I mean, it was still great that you were able to run, especially during this year, and still, you know, engage with racing fans, offer something to racing fans in Quebec to, you know, watch and engage with and still cheer for, which is always really exciting. And can you tell me a little bit about how your Indigenous heritage plays into the league? So, as much as you want to share, or anything that you're wanting to share, any stories or anything, you know, tell me about racing in an Indigenous league and what this means to both of you. Anything like that would be great to hear.
Well, we're definitely not, you know, how do I say it, that you know, we for example, you know, we're still trying to work in a direction for us to be sanctioned, you know, for us to show that we can be big enough as any other circuit going around as of today, you know. And I think we've shown that, you know, us natives, that we've been, you know, we've been pretty strong too into, you know, into the racing world. And I think this is great for us to promote, you know, us, and that we can have our own circuit too eventually, you know. And I think that there's no limits to it. And for example, another thing is that we would still open to everyone, and it's how it is now. It's open for everyone. It's just not just the Indigenous people, but it's open for everyone to come join, you know, all the races. And we have no number of people that are racing in our communities that are not native, and I think they enjoy it. I think they enjoy the environment and the culture that they're surrounded with. I think they very much enjoy it. I know some, you know, some races, they have local vendors come out, you know, they even sell, you know, like traditional food. And I think some people are, you know, enjoy those, you know, those kind of stuff, I guess, you know, that, you know, shows the culture of our, you know, of our heritage, you know, of who we are. And it's, you know, we're open to everyone, you know. It's not, we're not trying to be Shanks and saying it's this and stuff like that, you know. It's nothing like that. We're just saying that, you know, we can do it too. We can have our own circuit, and we have the resources and everything. And I feel like we can just be as big as any other circuit, you know. It's just working in a direction where we want to be sanctioned now. And I think it's long enough, it's long overdue that we work in that direction for us to be sanctioned and to have our own circuit. And for you guys to promote that, I think it's a great opportunity for us to work in that direction, to put another step forward. And, you know, getting closer to our goal. I'll touch back what you asked Jonathan about, the goals of, why we want to have our league. As a racer wise, I do want to get sponsored. That's one of the main things. I want those promotions from, I've put a lot of money trying to be an independent racer, and like what I said, it's a long overdue for some of us racers that have been racing for a number of years. For example, my father has been racing 20 plus years, and he was always an independent racer. He never had a team or a sponsor directly from major companies, and I think it's time for us to to put a step forward, another step to be sanctioned and to have our own circuit. That's one of the biggest. As for me as a racer, I wanna I don't want to be spending a fortune just trying to make, and it's something I'm very passionate about, and it's something that I want to pass it down to my kids is also in the future. And that's one of the main reasons why I feel like we should start working in that direction for us to be sanctioned, to race for a championship, and like what I said, we can be just as big as any other circuit. And the number of races that we have, and we could go up to 8 in a year if everyone commits to having an actual race. And just imagine how much fun we would have in a real circuit. Another thing, the fan base is crazy. I've raced in the States. I've raced in the International 500 in Minnesota, and there are a lot of fans. But over here, it's crazy. It's just as big. I can even say it might be even bigger fan wise. So I feel like we're ready to have a complete circuit is also. So it's a great promotion for us. And as for me as a racer, I'm excited to work in that direction and to finally have that opportunity for me to be sponsored as a racer, in different companies, FXR, Climb, even Polaris and everyone. And so that's one of the main goals for us to work in that direction.
Okay. Yeah, for sure. And definitely, like you said, you have enough races and community fan base. All the pieces are there to be able to be sanctioned and to be one of the main players of the winter circuit.
Yeah,
for sure. Is there anything, Jonathan, that you want to add from your side as an organizer?
Yes. Right now we're working on a 650cc class 2024 mandatory rule. So that's one of the objectives we're working on, and to unify all the rules so they're all the same. So those are and to have a point system with the actual prizes, because now the point system that I created didn't have any prizes yet. It was just to show the people and the racers how exciting it would be to actually have like a point system. So I'll tell you what you asked me earlier on the categories.
Sure. Yeah. Tell me about the categories.
Now we have there's the professional cross country open. So like I said, in 2024 it will turn into a 650cc category. So and all of the following also. So right now there's in some communities they call it the semi-pro, but it's basically the same as the sport. So we call it a sport and semi-pro. And then the other category is the women's class. So that will turn into a 650cc also.
Okay.
And then there's the amateur class. Some communities call it the beginners, and others call it the amateur, but it's going to turn into only amateur. So then we have the junior categories. There's boys and girls. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then there's the 120cc's, the children, and then the 200cc children. So we have 1, 2, 5, 6, 7, 8, 8 categories.
Okay.
We have eight so far. So,
That's
but
quite a variety, quite a large span. And
yes.
how young are the youngest children that are racing?
Probably
I've seen a 4-year-old race. So
yeah.
Okay.
4-year-olds,
And they're
4
racing.
probably 4 to 8, 4 to 10 hectares size.
yeah, 4 to 10. You know,
Yeah,
the one.
there.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
can have.
and then they move up to once they get like once they reach the age limit for the juniors, then they join the junior, and then they become like amateurs, and then or sometimes if they're fast enough, they join the sport or the women's right away,
Okay.
depending how fast they are.
And for the kids racing, how many kilometers are they doing for cross country?
Mostly is for the kids. It's more like they're just doing laps, almost like a mini snow cross.
Okay, Silas, did you start as a child racing as well? Like, have you always raced and you moved up through the classes?
No, surprisingly, no, I wasn't. But I've been surrounded with racing as long as I can remember. It's because of my father. I only started racing when I was 20, 21, 22. Now I'm 28. But yeah, racing wasn't always my hobby at first. I was a hockey player just right up to 21, and I kind of slowed down, and I started racing at the age of 21. But my dad has been racing for a very long time too. It even goes way back to my great grandfather raced in the early 70s. So
Okay.
racing
So,
it was always familiar, but I had a different hobby in the early teenage years. And
so you're like a fourth generation cross country racer.
yes, you can say that. Yeah.
Okay, that's quite a long line of
Yeah.
history. So,
But my grandfather wasn't a racer, but he was a recreational director as also.
okay.
So he had the racing going on too. As for there's this couple stories of what really happened, and when he was a director during the winter time, it was almost every weekend that had a racing in
Okay.
different categories too. So then my father picked up the racing, and he started racing too.
Okay, so racing's definitely in your blood. It's
Yeah.
You were bred to race for sure. Okay, and can either of you teach us some? So the GPSV community, our fans, can you teach us some Cree words that we would, if we were to go to one of the Eeyou Eenou League races? What's a word that we would most likely hear, or what's a common word in snowmobiling, or a couple that you could teach us today?
It means he's really fast, that guy.
Okay, he's really fast.
Yeah, he's really fast, that guy. So
Okay.
boy.
Okay, can you repeat it one more time and break it down for us?
Okay, I'll da bim boy.
Okay, so that's talking about like that's a fast racer. So
Yeah,
for
that's
sure.
a fast racer.
Okay, Silas, do you have any for us to learn today?
There's quite a few. Yeah, there's quite a few that we can exchange words in the pit. For example, when I speak to my dad, shuk means like go hard.
Yeah, keep going.
Keep going. Don't give up could mean goy buni. Shuk goy buni, like keep going, don't give up. Like for example, just similar word, like similars that we use. How far is he? Like, is he far back? Is he close? Is he close means beshonaksua, or if he goes far, if he's far, it means wayonaksua. Those are similar words that we just use. This some of the words I guess we can use, but there's our first language is Cree, so all we do is speak Cree in the pits and
Okay.
yeah. So there's some of the words that are used often.
Often used in snowmobiling. So those are good to be aware of for sure.
Yeah.
Is there any last things that you would like to share with the Grand Prix? Is there any, stories, anything else that you would like our fans, your fans, everyone to know before we head out?
Yeah, I'll tell you the scheduling for the racing season, like as it pertains to the racing season. So I'll just break it down as it goes throughout the
Sure.
months, throughout the year, what the Crees do throughout the year.
Okay.
So in February, March, that's the racing season. And right after the racing season, there's the moose hunting season. Okay, so people go out on ski-doos because the snow is hard, And so right after moose hunting, then there's the goose hunting season.
Okay.
The goose hunting season. Then right after the goose hunting season in June, there's the fishing season. So it's the fish. We're in the fishing season at the moment. So right after that ends in the fall, then we'll go back to moose hunting. One day we might go like national. We want everyone to come. Just like what Silas was saying. Me personally, I would like to see that what's his name, Zach Herpendahl come try us here.
It's finally coming. We're being heard too as what we're trying to be. We're trying to abide into the ISR rules as also. I think that's the only way we can be sanctioned to all the racers here. Like I said, it's long overdue for us to be, to be an independent racers and independent racing leagues around here. It's the snowmobiling world it's so big around here. We're so familiar with everything that's been going on, the snowcross, even the snowcross world. For example, the SCMX, back then it was called the CCMQ, something like that. Even Miss Disney has held snowcross races with the SCMX back in the day, early 2000s, late 1990s. Even Ojibwagumu held snowcross races with the SCMX too. So I think we're not far away from the snowmobile world. I think we're right in it too, and I think it's time for us to be recognized that this thing could be huge. Actually, in the whole snowmobile world, we even host events that that are similar to the major races in the world, even the biggest races in the world, which is Kane's Quest and the Iron Dog in Alaska. We hold a very similar event in Chesapeake, and Miss Disney is working on the direction to have a race like that. The Chesapeake 2-man race is really similar to the Kane's Quest in Labrador. It's the prize money is the same as the race in Kane's Quest, which is the first place is $50,000, and it goes down to $20,000 for a second and third. So, like what we said, the racing community is huge up north, and it's time for us to make that step forward for us to be, to be a racing circuit, because some of us, like me, my dream was to race in an actual circuit. I wanted to race in the USXC circuit, but it's a long ways from home for me to make that sacrifice. It's a 2-day drive for me to get to Minnesota. Even the Rock Maple cross country racing is still far away. So I know it's in Maine and Vermont, around that area. And I know a lot of people in the neighboring regions. For example, Lake Saint Jean is really big on the snowmobile racing too. And I know that most of the SCMX racers are from Lake Saint Jean and around the Quebec City area, around Montreal area. And I feel like Quebec could use a actual cross country circuit too. And I think the Cree Nation is ready for that and is big enough for us to host an actual circuit and for us to fall into the ISR rules. And the ISR could recognize this as a full potential a racing circuit, and going on, social media attention, all the sponsors, and it would be just as big as any other circuit in the world, I should say. Like I said, with the fan base too, I personally feel the fan base is bigger than any other circuit. Just imagine the live streams that we can do, broadcasting and everything. We're just ready to have our own circuit, and for ISR to recognize that and to help us in that direction is ready. I think us racers, there's enough racers even in the pro category. We're all ready to join the racing world, and this is a great opportunity for us to promote our events and in the Cree Nation. Like what I said, the biggest race in the world hosts 90 to 100 racers per event, and we hold the same amount of racers. And if COVID didn't happen this year, I know for a fact that the neighboring regions would have racers, and which has happened in the past, where like Saint Jean is not all snowcross racers. They have cross country racers, and they would come join our races in the leagues. And I'll say league, but they're all local events. But like what Jonathan is doing with the point system is great. It's fun. I know it's not a championship race. But it was fun to work something like that, knowing what, showing the people what we could actually be, just racing for a championship. And I think that's what everyone's goal is. And once people understand, what we're really trying to work for, what we're trying to race for, and what our passion is. And the passion over here is just huge with snowmobiles. I even personally thought that around here, Mistissini Ojibwe could really partner with SCMX. They could even host the first event of the year, the last event of the year, even the championship, because of the amount of snow that we have around here. It's huge. The locations are perfect for fans. I'll give you one example for the cross country race. We're riding ditches for 70 kilometers, and I can say the 70 kilometers could be filled with fans with their vehicles along the highway. Okay. It's just crazy. So like I said, this is a great promotion for us. We thank you guys very much for reaching out and for what we're doing over here. Some of us are getting a little tired with the independent, but we keep doing it because we love it. It's our passion. But it would be great for us to be recognized in the ISR rules, and for us to have our own circuit, and it could be huge, and it'll be great.
Okay, thank you, Jonathan. Any last words?
Nope. I just wanted to say that it was an honor to be for you to reach out to me, and I'm really thankful that I had the opportunity to talk to you.
Yeah.
So,
Thank you so much.